Hi, this is John, the designer of Avignon, and I wanted to talk a bit today about the Pilgrimage expansion. One of the things about designing an expansion is that you have to find a way to make the expansion enhance the gameplay of the original game. And the Kickstarter video for Pilgrimage talks a bit about how Pilgrimage works as a standalone game, but it doesn't go in depth into how Pilgrimage works as an expansion. And what Pilgrimage really does for Avignon as a combined game is that it adds a little bit more variety, replayability, and strategy to the base game. And it does that through the use of factions. So if you take a look at the new card, the Ascetic, at the bottom of the card it has a faction, the Peasant. What this means is that for all intents and purposes, the Ascetic counts as a peasant, and it would be that way for things like the Noble's alternate win condition, but also when you set the game up. The game still uses 2 cards from each faction, but instead of just using 2 peasants, it uses 2 of the peasant faction, which could be peasants or ascetics. Now, one of the options for setting this up is to shuffle them together and put 2 of each faction in randomly, but the more interesting and strategic way that we developed to play it is to start out the game by giving each player 1 copy of every character. And then each player goes through the factions and picks the character that they prefer. So maybe if I'm looking at nobles, I don't really like the nobles congregation-based wins, but I prefer the scribe's board-based win condition where the scribe counts as a character in the congregation if you already have 2. So I'll include him. For the peasant, I maybe think the peasant's boring compared to the ascetic. Maybe the new courtesan has a petition power that's just a little weird, and I like the raw force of the knight. Maybe instead of the Cardinal, I go with the NUNCIO. I use the Inquisitor instead of the Canonist, because the Inquisitor pulling a Cardinal still affects the NUNCIO. And then, because I like excommunicating, I'll go with the Vicar instead of the Bishop. So once each player has chosen their 6 characters, and they do this without showing them to each other, they just flip them face down and they shuffle the deck together. And that way, each player knows half the deck, but they don't know the other half. And so while you know that there are characters from the peasant faction coming up, you don't know whether that will be a peasant, or whether it'll be an ascetic, or if you've got the bonus cards, even if it'll be a sister. So it kind of adds a layer of depth while still maintaining the relatively simple and quick gameplay. And I think it's a really great addition to the game. It's one of the reasons why I designed the expansion, was to add this kind of replayability and variety, and this extra layer of strategy to what was previously pretty much a purely tactical game. So I hope you enjoy it and you check it out. And if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments. I'll be following them throughout the campaign and afterwards through fulfillment. Thanks a lot.